My guest today is Jai Thomas. He's a friend of mine and he has been involved working with me for several years, and I wanted to have a conversation around why that took place and what it's done in his life. Welcome, Jai.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the channel and chatting about these subjects today. I want to start with that real simple question around what inspired you to reach out to me originally in the context of looking for help, looking for guidance, etc. Where were you at and what was the thought trigger for you to reach out?
Yeah, for me, it was like a lot of family had started to notice some patterns in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The question was what inspired me. I think half of it was a lack of inspiration, if I'm being honest.
Right.
I didn't see where my life was going. I couldn't really see past the job that I was currently on and how I was going to progress into the dreams that I used to have for my life. And so, yeah, through the encouragement of my wife and parents, that connection was made, and that's what kind of pushed me to reach out ultimately. So
I've known your family for a little while, obviously, so there was some connection point there.
Yep.
How important was that in your making that decision to say, I'm going to give Andrew a call and have a conversation? Was that a big part, a small part?
I think it was at the time I was also getting like some counselling outside.
Yep.
And so I was prepared to kind of open up about things that I was struggling with.
Yep.
So it was good that we did have some sort of a relationship through people.
Yes.
But ultimately it's like you came referred from someone that I trusted. So that ultimately helps a massive amount.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think that's true for a lot of people. They tend to trust. If somebody they trust talks about another person that they trust, it's like referred trust, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So, when you reached out to me and said, "Can we talk?" and we've had conversations and we've met up and we've covered a lot of conversational ground. I'm wondering for you personally, and then also what you might think about most other people. What's the ratio in the mix of getting desperate enough? And I'm not saying that you were in a desperate state necessarily when you reached out to me, but is that a factor? Was that a factor for you?
Yeah, I think for me, I started to notice a lot of habits that I had that weren't leading me to a path of success ultimately. I was of the ideology that, to work out of a slump, you just got to work harder, which is just not a beneficial mindset to have when you're stuck in a rut. So, for me, I got pretty desperate. I started to notice it. I was losing contact with friends, family. I was secluding myself.
Okay.
Kind of all the warning signs of like, okay, there's something drastically wrong here.
Yes.
If you don't want to be around your own family and you just want to stay to yourself, that's not who I have been, for the years prior. It's not who I am now. So, I think I was pretty desperate. But I think also the people around me were courageous enough to say, hey, look, we can notice there's a change in you. And they called that out as well. So.
Okay, so it's a mixture of things. And you were saying that you could even notice some changing patterns in yourself.
Oh, big time. Yeah, 100%.
Can you specify what some of that was?
Yeah, I didn't value exercise. So for me, I almost cracked it into the professional sport career. So exercise for me for a long time was my release, was my escape.
Yes.
When I was having that as a kind of last resort, I knew that there was some warning signs that were kind of flaring up. Like even my relationship with my wife, it wasn't something that I was honoring. It was something that I didn't pursue. It was something that I just kind of left. And so, those things I kind of had a look in the mirror one day and was like, wow, I've come a long way in the wrong direction from where I wanted to be when I, first made some big goals and first got married. So,
So a shift in patterns.
Totally.
You could say. Looking back on that time, do you think you were aware of the drift that was going on? Or is it only when you look back you go, oh, hang on, that was not really conscious to me. It sort of happened real quick.
Yeah, it definitely, I wouldn't say it happened quick because it was over quite a long way.
Right.
It was over probably a period of maybe 3 or 4 years where it really started to set in.
Okay.
And so I didn't see the patterns originally, but I think when I stopped and actually had that moment of like, where am I? It was kind of a looking up to see, oh, wow, the boat's really drifted and I'm nowhere near where I thought I was.
So you didn't really notice it going on until some alarm bells started to ring in patterns and other areas.
100%.
Then you take a look and you think, oh, hang on, I'm a fair way off track here.
100%.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned something a moment ago that I want to come back to, this idea of coming from this ideology of just work harder.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I knew what you meant because, in your younger years, you played some pretty high-level basketball.
Yeah.
You're a disciplined character by nature. I'm wondering your view then and your view now around this contrast between just work harder, which is not a wrong thing to do by any stretch, but, that thing of, just, white knuckle it to make it work, that approach versus a different approach that I advocate for a lot, and that is learning to ask who before you ask how. When did that sort of wake up in you? And what do you think that contrast is in other people? Do you think a lot of people are doing that thing where they're just, trying, I just got to figure it out myself? And give me your view on all of that.
Yeah, I think for kind of young or kind of early age men in that industry, it's flooded, especially on podcasts, YouTube, whatever you look at.
Right.
Is you have these incredible business owners or incredible kind of role models, if you want to use that term, telling you that I only got to where I am because I dragged myself through years and years. I pulled myself up by the boots.
Club.
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. And so when that is your viewpoint on things and you look at your life being, well, these people made it to harder, more, tough positions, made it from tougher positions than I am, meant I've just got to work harder. So for me, I've come from a really hardworking family. My dad's an incredible role model in that aspect.
Yep.
But one thing I didn't take from my dad that I saw was the rest that he had. Okay. And so he really valued actually taking rest, taking a time to sit back and actually understand what the next steps are rather than just like bulldozing your way through to the future.
Yeah, okay.
But to answer your question on asking who, I think it's really valid. I think there's a lot of noise in the industry of kind of health and wellness. And a lot of those times it's people that are preaching from a place or speaking from a place where they might have broken insecurities that they're not actually voicing. And so my question is to these people that are saying work harder is how's your marriage? How's your life with your family? And, just because your business is thriving doesn't mean that your whole life is an example to what other people want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
No, you answer that so well in the sense that that's kind of where I live in my thinking. I don't think that everything in that whole 5 a.m. club and, nail your calendar and, be captain productivity. I don't think all of it is problematic, especially if you're talking to, a 30-year-old man, for example, who just lays on the couch all day long.
Yeah.
He probably needs hormosing.
Yeah, he needs a system.
You know. But I do think a better approach is learning how to fuse together the good from that world and spit out the bones.
Yep.
But then also bring it to this other thought process of, but I still need to ask who has been where I'm trying to go before me.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they must have lessons, right? And I don't know, I'm a little bit on the side of things that you inferred there, that I think some of these people who succeed, whether it's business or fitness or productivity or content creation, whatever their mountain is that they've climbed, I'm not always convinced that they are looking back down the mountain and telling us the full truth of their story.
Yeah.
Because it sounds more heroic, right, to say, I scaled the mountain. And, if they're at the top of the mountain, then I guess they did.
Yeah.
But I think what's more helpful to the rest of us is to say, I got here, but it wasn't easy. I made mistakes. I hit roadblocks. I had to ask for help.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true, or am I off track here?
No, I definitely would agree. I think wisdom is something that is probably one thing that I've realized is most important. And so wisdom in a lot of areas, wisdom in business, wisdom in family, wisdom in being a good husband, like wisdom in those areas are something that I strive to gain from other people. Right. And so the examples that I look in my life are the people that have those things. And so, someone might have it in an area of business and they might give me advice that's based on that, but then it actually, counterfeits with something else to do with my family. And so that's where the decisions are. I'm going, okay, who do I ask that has these things, who's been here, who've actually walked the line and have the fruit to show for it at the end?
Yeah, totally. It is a funny little irony, isn't it, that we all tend to advocate for, get help. And that's where a lot of these online gurus can show up because they act as if they know everything about everything and they might know a lot. But the irony for me is that they preach a message of get help, but they're telling a story of I didn't need help some of the time.
Yeah.
But I think your point is true, is trying to apply an approach of wisdom, and the wisdom filter is who's actually got runs on the board.
True.
Like who is the specific individual who's got a strong family or succeeded in business or maybe failed in business but then figured out how to succeed in business,
Yeah.
I think our world has lost a little bit of its grip on follow proof.
Yep.
And we tend to follow hype. And I think it's important people get back to following proof.
Yep.
But touching on this thing of specific people, this is a little bit of a weird question because we're here together now.
Yeah.
But let's talk about me.
Sure.
That sounded weird, didn't
Yeah.
it? What I actually mean is, what was that experience like? And I'm not asking you to throw royalties my way, but what was the experience like of when you reached that tipping point that you mentioned a few moments back around, I need to get help.
Yep.
And you reached out to me and we started to talk and put strategies in place. Talk to me about the experience of it.
Yeah. It was a lot better than I first thought. Like I had been, and I think it's important to like seek professional help with certain things that people go through.
Yes.
And so at that time I was actually seeing someone else, which was great. It was actually more of a place to talk because at that time I just wasn't talking to anyone.
Yep.
And so I was just voicing things that I had kept to myself for a long time. And so meeting you, I think it was the feeling was a breath of fresh air. Like I remember the first time that we chatted, we even stood outside and chatted for nearly 2 hours before I ended up walking back home.
Yes.
And the conversation I had with my wife after was she asked how it was, and I'm like, it wasn't just talking. It was actually, okay, how does that kind of relate to things in your life? Where is that coming from? What are the roots that are, not just treating the symptoms, but what are the roots to these issues? What has happened maybe during the past? What are learnt behaviors?
Yes.
What are things that you've picked up subconsciously along the way that are actually hindering you from progressing forward?
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely. You are a very easy person to coach. And I'm not saying that just for the sake of saying it. What I mean is, sometimes people are defensive in their approach.
Yeah.
They know they need help, but they're quite guarded in the way they try to receive it. And I understand when that happens, but it actually slows the process down.
Totally.
You're a really easy person to coach because you've got your ego in check. Some people don't, but you've got your ego in check. And so when you pursue answers and trying to harvest wisdom, you're doing it from a position where you actually want to receive it, which makes a big difference. I'm wondering if you're able to identify any specific before and after moments. If you cast your mind back to, I remember the conversation you're talking about, standing outside in the street near your apartment where you live. We'd been to a coffee shop and then we wandered back. Going back to there and looking forward to now, are there any specific before and afters that stand out for you in your thinking or the way you see things or your view of self? Talk to me about that.
I think probably the best illustration you gave me was the one of a fuel gauge. And so how I understood it and how you explained it was when you drive your car, you fill it up and it's full, and then you drive it back down to empty. Turning the car off doesn't refuel the tank. No. And so I had experienced probably close to 4 years, maybe even 5 years with some of the stuff that I was studying at night after work. Of just turning off and thinking, okay, well, that's my rest, not understanding that, hey, look, I'm actually not refueling in the way that I need to be. And so I was running on empty for a long time, and with the noise around me telling me, hey, just work harder.
Right.
It's tough pill to swallow. So I think from that moment then is I started to have some really like tough thoughts of, okay, what do I actually enjoy?
Yes.
And so for me in that time where I literally did nothing, I would work a 12-hour day, I'd go home, I'd have a shower and I'd sit in front of the TV and then I would go to bed and I'd get up and do the same thing 6 days a week.
Wow.
And so for me, I had to start, thinking what do I actually enjoy out of work, outside of work and outside, the striving for success and striving to get out of this loop. What do I enjoy doing?
Yep.
Had to ask some really tough questions, had to go on that journey, figured out a few things that I really did enjoy and started to implement that. And then, really start to see a big change. So
what were some of those results after that advice? What specifically changed for you?
Yeah, I think joy is probably a huge one.
Joy came back. Okay.
Yeah. For me, I started, one of the practical things that I started doing is going back to the gym and actually focusing on exercising, but not just going there to go there, but actually like work out.
Right.
Work out my body after, sometimes a really hard day in the mind and just to turn off. And so for me, there was two ways that it really helped me. It helped me with just a decompression after the day.
Yep.
I ended up going home and I was a lot more of a happier human. So I had that joy, I had happiness, but then I also had this sense of fulfillment because I wasn't just sitting at home doing nothing. And so from that moment, I started to have more relationships. I started making friends at the gym, and it really changed the huge trajectory of my life. And people have used the gym as saying, that's it, but it could be multiple things for different people.
That's right.
Could be some wild other things. I know there's definitely other things that refuel me that I do, but maybe not as often. But
that's brilliant, Joy. I love that. I love that before and after picture that you can actually see it. You've actually experienced it. Coming from a place where you were struggling and mentally you were a bit stuck, and there was anxiety and there was pressure, and if I had to give it a specific diagnosis when we first started to meet like that, I would definitely have said you were completely emotionally burnt out.
Oh yeah, totally.
You weren't going towards burnout; you were already in a burnt out state.
Yeah.
But like I said, being a really hungry student, you actually took on board the advice, and it makes me happy to know that you remembered those frameworks and metaphors, and talking about this idea of a soul tank being like a fuel tank. And in our cars, as you said, it'd be crazy to get halfway home on the highway, see the low fuel gauge, and pull over and turn the engine off and wait for an hour.
Yeah, what's that going to
That's
do?
lunacy.
Yeah,
and then turn the engine back on, get cranky when it still says the same thing on the fuel gauge.
Yeah,
but that's what we do in our lives.
Yep.
And so sometimes people just need that little bit of wisdom and skill or language to wrap around their situation to get them out of the stuck place.
Yeah, 100%.
And then they can start to move, and that's what's happened for you, which is it's such a great thing to see and hear your before and after.
Yeah.
And to hear you say, joy's come back, more sense of purpose.
Totally.
Enjoying my downtime. It's a brilliant thing. And I think people watching this episode and watching this channel, they need to pay attention to these little things, because little pieces of wisdom that are proven can make a big difference. A friend of mine once said that big doors swing on small hinges. And it's very true. And, you're talking about this fuel tank thing. I'm able to coach others with that because I've had to walk through that.
Yeah, 100%.
I've been through emotional burnout. It's horrible.
Yeah.
When you just give, work, but eventually your soul goes, nah, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so to learn strategies around how to get unstuck from that place is actually really powerful. On a generic level, what's your thought? Why do you think people do get stuck, whether it's mentally or relationally or in their career path, hopes and dreams, or their sense of place in the world? Why do people get stuck, do you think?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest reason, and this, I'm speaking from experience and even seeing people in my life get stuck, is purely the fact that they don't know. They don't know the tools. And so it's a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of understanding, and the fact that maybe they haven't been in that position before and so don't know how to act. They don't know how to put boundaries in place. They don't know how to go through, critical self-evaluation to really understand what are these root causes that are flaring up and causing, a drift.
Yep.
So, I think it would be lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, yeah. It's powerful, isn't it? I mean, you're a builder, so this metaphor works really easily and well for you. You'd know exactly what it's like if we sent you to work one day and you put your tool belt on and discovered that all that was there was a chisel. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that chisel's going to work for a couple of tasks through the day, but not many, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's what I hear you saying, is that a lot of people are walking around like that, or more typically, people have got a tool belt on and all they've got is a hammer.
Yeah. Or even rocking up to build a house with no plans. That's sometimes how it feels.
Yeah. And so they go to reach for something in the moment.
Yep.
And there's either nothing there or the wrong tool is there.
Yeah.
And I guess that for me, that is the power of not just any help, but skillful, wise, experienced help.
Yeah, 100%.
Mentoring of this kind of situation where someone who's done it, proven it, lived it, gotten results for lots of other people, they become skillful. And, for me, that sense of purpose you're talking about, that's where my sense of purpose comes from. I know that I was wired and put together in a way to help other people get unraveled.
Yeah.
And get their knots undone. And so really obvious question, but I want your opinion on it anyway. What would you say to people watching this episode who are thinking about, should I reach out to someone? Should I get help? Maybe they're even contemplating, should I reach out to Andrew and see how I can work with him? What's your view?
Yeah, I think you'd be silly not to. For me, I'm probably a little bit bummed that I didn't do it earlier, if I'm being really honest. I think I could have saved myself a lot of pain, a lot of heartache.
Wow.
And to be honest, I could have saved myself the feeling of being burnt out. I think burnout is not something that happens overnight. It's something that happens with little by little of constantly having these losses, as you would call it, to a place where you are fully burnt out.
Yes.
Had I met you a year prior, had I met you 2 years prior, maybe I would have had the tools that coming into a situation that I could have been, adequately equipped to be able to handle it in a way that it didn't affect my family, didn't affect myself. So
that's really powerful, actually, that comment you've made there, and I appreciate your kind words. But that's really powerful insight, what you said about how your only regret is, I should have reached out sooner.
100%, yeah.
And I guess I resonate with that because I have quite a broad network of people that I know.
Yep.
And so I know some of their stories, and I'm watching certain people, and I'm even meeting with some people in the next few weeks. And the reason that we're meeting is because I'm concerned for them.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that they're already on that trajectory or that drift that you described.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they haven't quite crossed that line yet where they've decided, I need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I should get some.
Yep.
And I'm hopeful of helping them to see that would be a good thing to do because, as you've said, you can arrest that slide. You can get tools. You can make a pivot, and then the direction and trajectory can change.
Yep.
So, look, I love the way you've answered that, and the story that you've had. I think, from my view, you're very well prepared now for facing this kind of challenge should it come again. Dealing with pressures, avoiding burnout, managing your headspace, creating those margins for marriage and friends and
100%.
Recreation. And that's not to say that any of us are, totally inoculated because life throws a lot of garbage at us, as we know. But for me, you feel really well positioned because you've applied the tools.
Yeah,
do you feel that way as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think the telltale signs was pretty quick after I was able to, meet with you and actually implement the things that you told me.
Yeah.
I found myself in the coming years in higher stress situations, but not having anywhere close to a reaction that I used to have, not relying on things that I used to rely on.
Right.
But able to, stand strong and go, no, I know what I need to do in these situations. And we can work through it. And so, 100%. I'm like, the reason I'm so confident about it is because I haven't just gone through a tough season and come out of it and gone, I've rescued. I've actually been thrown into a few more that I would say are pretty tough to go through.
Yes.
And I was able to not just kind of stay there and manage, but I was able to flourish in those environments. So,
that's brilliant, John.
Yeah.
I love that. It's very powerful, the fact that you got unstuck from the original challenges.
Totally.
But then you also had tools in the belt for future ones that at that time you didn't even know were coming.
No idea.
But when they did, you're able to handle them well. That's brilliant. I love hearing that. And you have done well and you're doing well. And, I'm proud of you for the journey that you're on. It's awesome.
Yeah,
thanks for being on the channel today.
Oh, no worries.
Loved having you with us. Guys, if you've enjoyed listening to this conversation and maybe you've been triggered in your own mind, perhaps it is time I actually got some help. I feel a bit stuck. I don't know what to do. If that's you, there's a few different ways that you can work with me. Obviously, you're watching the YouTube channel right now and you'll pick up thoughts and ideas from these episodes that could help you. I also write a weekly newsletter that you could actually subscribe to. There's a link below in the show notes where you could jump onto that, and I write articles that will help you there. And for those of you who are feeling like, I really want to get in and work directly with Andrew, there's a link there for my newest program online, which is called the True Self Transformation Program. It's my most robust and comprehensive program I've ever put together, bringing together all of the work of the last 28 years of my career, and that will bring you a massive transformation in your life as well. So why don't you jump on those opportunities, and I'll be bringing you more stories like Jai's in the near future. Thanks for watching.